Well, thanks for joining us today. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name is Logan Decker, and I'm editor-in-chief of PC Gamer magazine.
Okay.
I'm Josh Augustine. I'm associate editor at PC Gamer magazine.
So what are your roles exactly? What do you do on a daily basis at PC Gamer?
I run the ship.
Anything and everything?
Yes, absolutely. We've got, it's not just a magazine anymore, of course. We've got a website and a new product coming next year. So there's a lot of growing. Nothing today stays static. Everybody's got to change. You guys know that as well as we do.
Yeah, and I pretty much handle anything MMO related at the magazine. And I get bossed around by this guy.
Okay, so we want to review you're the guy we need to hit, right?
Yeah, of course.
So what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the words free-to-play?
A low barrier to entry. That means it's something you can jump into and you don't have to worry, you don't have to do a cost-benefit analysis, or commitment, and that's a big deal, especially because when, throughout my entire teenage and years as a young adult, once you bought a game, you were committed to it. You didn't get a refund, you might have gotten a demo, but, so all that's changed now. And I have a much more positive association with it than I used to.
So what was the first free-to-play game that you ever heard of, and what was your first impression of it?
That's tough.
Scratch.
The first one I kind of remember, I guess, would be RuneScape.
RuneScape?
Yeah, my cousin was really into that, and I think he might have been paying a subscription at the time. But I remember watching him play it, and he had me sit down and play it. I was just kind of confused by it. I hadn't really played a game like that before at all. After like 20 minutes, I just kind of, okay, this is kind of cool, but it didn't grab me at all or anything.
So at that time when you learned about it,
yeah,
moving forward, did you think that there was a future for it? Did you think it was just a fad, a trend?
Yeah, I didn't really think of it as like a fad or a trend. I figured it would be like a very small niche, kind of like, because at the time, free-to-play wasn't just a business model, it was basically a type of game, because all the free-to-play games were the same. They were kind of cheap Asian ports brought over with bad translation, lots of grind. And so hearing free-to-play, you didn't just go like, okay, so what's the game? It's just, you knew what the game was.
Absolutely, yeah.
Other than, bad localization and being associated as Korean or Asian grinders, what other obstacles do you think that free-to-play games face entering the Western market?
I think earlier you guys kind of touched on like the mindset, there's no such thing as a free lunch. We have that saying here, and my dad said it all the time growing up, like, if anything seems too good to be true, it probably is. We're just inherently skeptical. Like, if you want to give me something free, it's like, okay, but you want something out of it. I know that. You aren't just doing this out of the kindness of your heart. Other than that, I think first impressions are a big deal. With any MMO launch, if you make people feel like they got ripped off in the first 2 weeks, you're going to have a very hard time convincing them to come back. And I think in the big picture, free-to-play made a lot of people feel like they got ripped off in the first kind of impressions with free-to-play.
I agree.
And just convincing players like, hey, things have changed. They'll be like, yeah, we've heard that story before. You're like, no, try this new free-to-play game. And if you can get down and get them to try it, then they can see it. But a lot of people are just like, no, I've been burned by that before. I don't even want to give it another chance. Yeah, exactly.
Right. How do you feel that they've evolved since that time?
It's really, there's really no comparison. You still get bad free-to-play games, just like you're going to get a bad shooter, you're going to get a bad racer, you're going to get anything. Some people are going to try and do it cheap and do it poorly, and it's not going to be good. But I think there's so many kind of shining examples of people that have done it right now that we have something to point to, and we can say, free-to-play isn't what it used to be. Look at Game X, look at Game Y. Even look at some genres, like if you look at kind of Dota-type games, like with League of Legends. Yeah. It's a free-to-play game. It's better than any paid alternative. And that's the biggest thing, where you can say like...
Mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's not even, look, it's as good as paid games. You could say, look, it's better than the paid games. People still have associations of, okay, it's going to be grindy, it's going to be this. They still have those associations, but those associations aren't true anymore. There's so many different things out there that's using the free-to-play business model.
It's no longer, I had also initially associated with MMOs. And that's not true either, Right. And this has only happened in the space of a couple years, That's how fast things are going. Now you've got Quake Live, you've got Company of Heroes online, shooters, strategy games. I mean, everything is moving in this direction. They'll easily be shoulder to shoulder with paid content. Easily. It's no longer associated with the type of game or a level of quality. The quality can be, anywhere from a simple flash game with a great hook, like a great riff and a song, or it can be something like Company of Heroes Online, it's the entire original, like, single-player campaign of a great, AAA strategy game.
Yeah, something, riding off of that, something that's very interesting, I think, is the wide acceptance of Facebook games, which are, for the most part, microtransaction now.
Yeah.
And also with Xbox Live and PlayStation Network, I definitely agree with you. I definitely think that within the span of 5 years, we've seen microtransactions go from something that people perceive as nickel and diming to something that actually has value.
Absolutely. Oh, and you don't even, it's so hard to wrap your brain around how big that market is until you see a chart or something like that, and you have this over here, and then these games over here, and they've just taken off. It's absolutely mind-blowing.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think we need to remember, like, convincing players to pay a monthly subscription for a game was really hard at first too. I mean, that was a transition that was hard. It's basically, the media basically having to convince players, like, it's worth $10 a month. Just try it. Just try it a little bit. And I think that's kind of the period we're at now. Is, this isn't going to be an easy transition, just like getting them to pay subscriptions. But, we have to convince them. It's worth your money. Try it, try it, try it. Just give it a try. And then once enough people have tried it, then it kind of gains more, I guess, acceptance.
Yeah. I recall that. I remember the acrimony. What? Like, what? What are you talking about? A monthly I've never done that before, Yeah. And then again, the same thing with microtransactions. It was like, what? You're nickel and diming me now, blah, 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 blah. And now people are there's so many ways in which that works for you. That's actually better, You have choices now on how you want to play,
You're absolutely right. I mean, the acceptance of subscription is all over the place now. I mean, recently at E3, when we were showing some of our games, the first question people asked is, what's the monthly subscription? And that just
assumes. And I think another thing is, as gamers get older, I mean, they're having kids, they have families, they don't have as much time. And I think my brother is kind of the prime example. He's married, he has his first kid now, and stuff. He just doesn't have time for a monthly subscription game. Like, he feels like he's not getting his money's worth. But free to play is great because it gives that option. It's like, you have a kid, you can only play $5, or you can only play 5 hours a month. Okay, then it'll just cost you $1 a month or something like that. He doesn't have to pay as much as the college kid who has 20 hours a day to play.
Or you could create accounts for your whole family.
Yeah.
Not pay a subscription for all.
Yeah.
Very powerful. So recently, a lot of subscription-based games have been converting to free-to-play games. What do you guys think of this recent movement?
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Again, it's about low barrier to entry, which is wonderful for gamers, but also it's fantastic for our industry. All the experimentation is taking place in PC gaming. People are trying anything and everything and seeing what works and what sticks. And we're finding that some things work for some people, some things work for others. This is, to be expected, but just the amount of experimentation and how successful it is exhilarating. And we're seeing huge problems that, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, people said, there's no solutions to piracy. Not unless we lock everything down and turn our platform into a console, And now, all of a sudden, they're almost obvious in hindsight, I
definitely think that one of the reasons why the free-to-play or microtransaction business model is so predominant in Asia is because of piracy.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are, you've got all these companies doing all these exciting things, trying new things, and once somebody takes that bold first step, well, you've got 10 other companies ready to try things out and to do their own spin on it, and going from subscription to free to play, I knew that once somebody had done it successfully, floodgates are opened.
Very true. Very true. So, if there was one subscription-based game that you would love to see become free to play, which would it be and why?
I mean,